Hello and welcome to 7 Days of Science, where a familiar face greets you from his two-dimensional plane. It's me, I'm back. Starting off the news this week, a study published in the Astrophysical Journal has identified 5 artificial greenhouse gases that would, if detected on an exoplanet, reveal that the exoplanet had been terraformed. While the technology that we use to view the stars and the planets that orbit them really is incredibly impressive, it's not quite impressive enough to get any real detail on the planet's surface. That, to be honest, is putting it lightly. However, there are ways of detecting a number of exoplanets' characteristics, such as certain elements in its atmosphere. The researchers of this study sought to identify possible elements within an exoplanet's atmosphere that would suggest intentional artificial terraforming, but also made sure that we would be able to detect these gases with our current technology. But what exactly is terraforming, and why is it important here? Well, terraforming a planet is an advanced way of modifying atmospheric characteristics, temperature, ecology, and more of said planet, usually with the goal of making that planet habitable. The terraforming of Mars is seen as an inevitability if humans are able to progress to that stage of civilization in one piece. Basically, if we are able to detect a planet we know had been artificially terraformed, we would know that that planet had been colonized by an advanced civilization, confirming both alien life itself and intelligent alien life. Such a piece of evidence is known as a technosignature, and while none have been found yet, this study adds to our understanding of what a true technosignature might look like, and could well be the key to confirming the existence of intelligent alien life one day in the future. In other news, a study has been published this week in the journal Science that has taken a look at one of the most intriguing moons in our solar system, Titan. While water is present on a great many bodies in our solar system, a standing liquid on the surface, like Earth's oceans, rivers, and lakes, is only present on one other body, Saturn's largest moon, Titan. While it had been believed that this was the case before the Cassini mission, it was the Cassini space probe that confirmed the existence of bodies of liquid on the surface of this gigantic moon. Naturally, the solution of this once controversial idea came with further controversies. The presence of waves on the liquid of Titan's surface was debated. This, of course, would tell us a lot more about the climate on Titan if we could get to a definitive answer. Well, this study built a framework for simulating shoreline erosion in order to determine the cause of the erosion. The team used data from a planet with much more data available, which was, of course, Earth. Using examples of erosion on Earth, the team built a framework that found that the shorelines of Titan's seas were most consistent with those that have suffered coastal erosion by waves. Now, this isn't irrefutable evidence that Titan seas do have waves, as we're simply showing that it looks like the shoreline erosion is in line with what we would expect if Titan did, and we haven't actually directly observed waves on Saturn's largest moon. However, it is more evidence to suggest this is the case, which makes this study very important indeed in furthering our understanding of Titan and progressing in our understanding of how bodies of liquid may work on bodies around our universe. Moving on from this week's space news, we've got monkey news, or some news that involves monkeys. A study published this week in the journal Science has some fascinating news about behaviour in macaques. As the study says, events that rapidly change a local ecosystem can be a great way of studying how animals react to their ecosystems changing, as we can do so over a shorter period of time. One such rapid event is a hurricane, and after a Category 4 hurricane significantly decreased the amount of tree cover available to rhesus macaques in Puerto Rico, some fascinating behaviour was discovered. Shade is a very important resource for these animals, and so a reduction in the available shade could be devastating to local populations if they have to start competing for it. Observations taken over a 10-year period that spanned before and after the hurricane hit showed that after this deforestation occurred, the macaques were actually more tolerant of other monkeys who would come to share shade with already pre-established groups. Instead of an increase in aggression, the researchers found that tolerance was increased in these trying times. Furthermore, the study also found that higher tolerance was actually linked to higher survival, a fascinating bit of research into animal behaviour that I'm sure will inspire other studies into similar events down the line. Also in the news, 2 beluga whales, who lived at the Nemo Dolphinarium in Kharkiv, Ukraine, were rescued last week and taken to the largest aquarium in Europe, the Oceanographic in Valencia, Spain. It is the only aquarium on the continent which has beluga whales in it, and so the expertise to look after them. The evacuation of the 2 whales, 15-year-old male Plombier and 14-year-old female Miranda, was weeks in the planning and is likely the most complex marine mammal rescue ever undertaken. Since the start of the war in 2022, various animals such as seals, sea lions and dolphins have been evacuated from the Nemo Dolphinarium, but evacuating belugas is very difficult due to their large size and complex needs. However, artillery fire in the city of Kharkiv has intensified, and bombs have been dropping within a few hundred meters of the aquarium, causing distress to Plombier and Miranda. The decision to evacuate the whales had to be taken, even though their body condition was not at its best to survive such a difficult journey, but their chances of survival at the dolphinarium were slim. Their journey started with a 12-hour drive from Kharkiv to Odessa, which is 400 miles away. Here, they boarded a small 6-seater plane and were taken care of by a team of marine mammal care specialists from the Georgia Aquarium, Oceanographic and SeaWorld. Altogether, the trip took 36 hours and covered more than 3,000 kilometers. It included rough roads, rising temperatures, and the challenges of being near an active war zone. But despite being at suboptimal body conditions for such a long journey, both belugas survived. At present, they are recovering in an area away from the public eye and have a team of medical, nutritional and behavioural experts looking after them, along with 2 Ukrainian caregivers who are also helping with the transition for the next couple of weeks. Ben, Amelia and I send our very best wishes to Plombier and Miranda and the amazing people looking after them. First up in the paleontology news this last week is the very exciting description and naming of a species of ceratopsian horned dinosaur with a fantastic name. Meet Lokiceratops rangiformis, a new kind of centrosaurian dinosaur with some spectacular frill horns that lived about 78 million years ago. It was unearthed from a site known as the Loki Quarry in Montana, explaining the genus name, while rangiformis refers to the reindeer genus Rangifer, since Lokiceratops seems to have had asymmetrical frill ornamentations, reminiscent of the asymmetrical antlers of the reindeer. Also, it's got horns. Like Loki. Lokiceratops. Paleontologists are very funny and cool. Anyway, this amazing new dinosaur is known from a relatively complete skull plus parts of the body, and it displays ornamentations that are similar to other ceratopsians, but that are also different enough to show that this is a new species. Several other ceratopsian frills show some asymmetry too, but the researchers explain that with only this single specimen of Lokiceratops, it's not clear how variable the asymmetry of this species was between different individuals. The other really intriguing thing about this new dinosaur is that it lived at the same time and in the same place as 4 other ceratopsian species: Wendiceratops, Albertoceratops, Medusaceratops, and Judiceratops, indicating that these dinosaurs were incredibly diverse at this time and place, with many different species all relatively quickly evolving in this geographical region of North America. The paleontologists therefore conclude that dinosaur diversity is still likely underestimated, and point out that this high diversity in small geographic regions contrasts with the very large ranges of most living mammalian megafauna, which is an interesting difference. An amazing and truly fascinating new dinosaur discovery then. And finally for the news this week, we welcome a new species of prehistoric worm thing. Fossils of this new animal were uncovered from Cambrian age rocks in British Columbia, Canada, dating to around 509 million years ago. It's been called Entothyreos sinaustris, and it's a kind of ancient arthropod relative, somewhat related to the famous hallucigenia. Entothyreos is known from amazing fossils preserving much of the body, showing that it had front limbs used for filter feeding and back limbs for anchoring itself down, and interestingly, it seems to have features of its armoured plates and spines that convergently evolved with true arthropods. It's therefore an interesting new species that adds to our understanding of how these bizarre ancient animals evolved. Well, that's it for this week's 7 Days of Science. I do hope you enjoyed, and, as always, we'll see you on Sunday.